Good morning, guys, and welcome to the show. Fernando?
Hello, welcome to the show.
You're doing your favorite thing, aren't you?
Oh, totally. Love this.
I know, he's a pro, man. If you need sound treatment done, you come see this guy. If you
Don't call me.
Today we're working on a 2017 Ford Explorer. And well, this is gonna be, as like they all are, a different type of video. Let me explain. Inside this Ford Explorer, it has this 8-inch touchscreen. And even though we can do an MFT1 kit from iData, which will take this out and allow us to put a new radio inside of it, who wants to do that? He has all the current features that he wants. He just wants to add a awesome stereo to it, make it sound better. Hey, no problem, we can do that. This is no different than an F-150 when it comes to that. On the back of the radio, it has a standard Ford kit that we can put a T-harness in, get all our outputs, go high level into some form of an amplifier or DSP, and we're all good. We've done it a bunch of times, as you guys know, pretty much every F-150. That was the plan on this car. We sold them a T-harness and we sold them the DSR-1. For those of you aren't familiar with the DSR-1, it is a 4-in, 8-out DSP made by a partnership between Rockford Fosgate and iData. Inside the box, you get your thanks for your support with Rockford, and you get the flashing instructions from iData. First, it tells you where to download the app. The unique thing about this is 100% controlled by an iPad from start to finish. However, you do have to have some form of a computer in order to flash it first. There's a bunch of flashing that needs to be done. We do have a video that walks you through that whole process. I'll link to that in the show notes so that you know what you need to do there. So what you get in the box is the unit itself. On the side of the unit, you have your USB flash, your status LED, and then all these plugs here are for your connection. What makes this unique is, like I said, it's partnership with iData, which means it's AR built in. AR is the software they use in order to connect to premium sound systems. But one of the things they've been doing lately is also making applications for non-premium sound systems like the one we're dealing with. You have your high-level, low-level switch here, which will tell you in the software which way you should flick this switch depending on how it's being installed. And then on the other side, you have your outputs, that 6-channel output, and you also have controller for the PLC controller knob. And I say controller knob because you can actually select what you want it to be. It can be a master volume, it could be a subwoofer, it could just be for punch bass. Because this is iPad compatible, it's also iPhone compatible and also iWatch compatible. You can actually control some of the features from your Apple Watch, such as subwoofer level control can be done here, punch bass can be done here, master volume can be done here. You could switch between main and auxiliary. It has an aux input for anything from line level auxiliary to a, let's say, a Bluetooth dongle, and a master mute. If you just want to shut the whole system down, you can do that right from your watch. If we dig a little deeper into the box, we find the parts bag. First thing is going to be your USB flashing cable, your input harness here, and then your 8-channel output harness here. And on each one of these channels, it's labeled rear left, spare right out 4. And there's a bunch of options available as far as how you want to run this. If you want to do what we're doing in this case, front rear sub, or if you want to go active front, center, rear sub, there's a ton of different options. We have a video on that. I'll link to all the videos about the DSR-1 in the description below so that you can kind of, if you want to do more research, you can dig as deep as you want. But this plug here is the one that we want. What we were planning on doing is plugging this into the input here, connecting these up to a T-harness. You cut these off, these RCAs, you don't need them if you're going to do high level, which we were. Flick this over to high level. 4-channel in, 6-channel out, and we're done. Super simple. We've done it a bunch of times, as I keep saying. But today is a little different. I got a package in the mail today. This box right here. I didn't know this was coming, and it's just a pure coincidence, if that's a thing, but it was from iData. Inside this box are these guys here, the DGM3 and the DFO2. As you guys know, we do a lot of prototypes, a lot of early release type things, and both of these are early release prototypes. They're not even on the market at time of filming. So excited. This guy here is the DGM3, and what this is for is if you want to go high level out of your factory GM radio, it has the ability to control that door chime, which has always been the major pain in the butt. So you can attach this now, and you can go and control that output for the door chime and high level into something like a DSR1 or a compatible AR style processor like a Audison BitNove. If you notice, these have a D here. AR is a little bit different, so they have different initials depending on how you want to be used. This one is made to plug in behind the radio. If your car has that green harness and the gray harness, this will unplug, plug in, and it gives you these two that come off to the side. This is where you'd plug into your AR or your DSR1. Plug it in, set it to high level, and we're all set. Now the Ford is a little different. Inside the box, we have a harness, we have some instructions, which is a general overview of how the product can be used, which is really nice because it walks you through the different applications that you can have for this. This harness is to be used to simplify installation of aftermarket amplifiers and digital signal processors at the factory head unit and vehicles without external amplifiers. Meaning if you unplug the radio and you put a tone generator in there, the speakers make sound. There are 3 ways this harness can be used. First up is the DSR1, this guy here that we're going to be putting into the car. It gives you the Maestro iData website information, so you know where to go to flash the unit. Other Maestro AR compatible products, so that's if you're going to use the Maestro AR. Connected to other partners that iData has. If you scroll down to the very bottom, you have the universal application. This harness can be used to connect directly to a high-level input of any DSP product, LOC, or amplifier. Simply cut off the 18-pin plug and wire it directly to the inputs of the product you are installing. These are EIA colors as shown below. What they're talking about is this end of the harness here that we'd be plugging into the DSP are these standard colors. You have the purples, the greens, the grays, and the whites, but you also have a constant 12 volts and a ground. If you do cut this, make sure it's not plugged into the car because you will blow a fuse if you cut these two together and it will be bad. Over here are our speaker wire inputs for our amplifier to connect to. If you are just doing an installation in a Ford, this harness is a great T-harness alternative to what else is available. One of the things it talks about doing here and other AR compatible products is in this bag. There is a loop through for the remote turn on that has to get plugged into this little guy here. If you need one of these, make sure that when you're pulling these instructions out, you don't lose it. They are both in the same bag, so it does make it hard to lose. However, we know how it is. People get excited, they just pull things out. Next part of all this is to take it over and flash it on the computer so that it knows what it's going in, and that's where this gets fun. They have to send us the beta software in order to do that, and there's a whole process to it because this unit reprograms the factory radio to a low-level output. So the software is going to communicate with the car and change the parameters of the radio so that we get a better signal output than just, let's say, doing high level. And that's what makes today so cool, because it was just by coincidence we sold this system and we got this box. So immediately when I got the box, I was like, and I called iData and I said, hey, we're doing one of these. Is there software available for this? And our buddy Mark was like, I think so. You want to do it? I was like, yes. Today's video, if we haven't figured it out yet, is gonna be what it's gonna take to put this DSR1 in here, reprogram the radio, get us a full signal output so we can then go into our 5-channel amplifier and make this car sound the best that it can. You excited, Fernando?
I'm excited.
He's excited. Let's get it over to the laptop, plug it in, and start walking through the setup process on the software and how this is gonna integrate with this car and do the magic that they say it will do. What am I doing? Flash by user firmware, right?
Correct.
I have DSP solution for Ford, year 2017, Ford Explorer without amplifier. Oh, cool. You get to see what the radios look like. That's neat. This will work on the small screen and the big screen.
Yeah, man.
You guys are so...
We're iData, homie.
Occupancy mode. What does this do? It says bass tone control, mid tone control, punch level, punch, EQ on off.
Occupancy control. Must be a setting in the factory radio.
So I'll just leave it as none because I'm putting in a bass knob. And we'll hit continue. All right, that takes us to the generic flash page. I'm gonna flash the unit.
By the way, we're gonna do start stop in that firmware too.
Of course you are.
I don't know if, was there a setting for start stop in the firmware we just pushed to?
No, there was not.
There will be.
I don't doubt that for a minute. Why wouldn't there be? On the finished flash page, I have a wallet card and a DSR firmware updater. Program amp mode. Accessory on, audio source off, on radio, ignition on, e-brake on, on. Radio will show volume 0, press and hold. Okay.
In the programming mode, there's the little graphics that happen. So when you get into programming mode, the volume indicator indicator will come up on the screen and it'll say 0. And
Yes.
then as it proceeds through the steps, it's going to crank over like a percentage.
Yeah, it says show radio volume 10, then 20, then 30, and then after 5 seconds, radio will reboot.
Correct. Just so you know, we store whatever the original 4-scan configuration is into non-volatile memory.
Yes.
So when you go back, you get the exact configuration that your car came with. So the only caveat to that is if somebody previously put their configuration in 4-scan, that's the one we're going to save.
Gotcha. So that's a good thing to note. All right, so that's something to talk to the consumers about. Okay, I like that. That's it. So once I plug this DSR1 back in, plug the unit in, it'll do everything it needs to do.
Yep. Let me know how it goes. Call me if it does any weirdness.
And like that, it's ready to go. As we were talking about describing there's a programming process that has to be done. And since we're to the point now where we have the unit flashed, we've already explained what the harness is about, let's hop in the vehicle and do this programming. You excited, Fernando?
I'm totally excited.
There's a lot of excitement going on this one. Before we flash this radio and convert it over to flat preamp, ready to go to the DSR1, let's take a look at what's actually coming out of this radio and why we want it to be fixed. With our bass, mid, treble, all of that set to 0, we're playing pink noise through our Educar app. Taking a look at our DSP, we see that there's definitely some form of equalization going on here. This should be perfectly level flat coming out of the radio. It's not. Which means when we go into our DSP processor, we're gonna have to do some de-equalization and re-equalization to get it to sound the way we want with our new speakers. Or if you're just hooking up like a regular system with no DSP, that's what you're feeding it. So let's look at that again and talk about some of the problems you may have. If you look at the subwoofer over here on the left, you can see there's a huge roll off. And then if you look over on the right, you can tell there's a giant dip in your high frequencies. There's some strange stuff happening there in the middle. It's just, there's some weird things happening. And of course it's going to change with the volume, like this roll off is going to get worse. Even though before today we've had great success making these radios sound wonderful, if there's an easier way to do it, I'm all in. Right, Fernando?
Correct.
Let's flash it and we'll see what it looks like afterwards. First thing is, make sure all the doors are closed. This is important. You need accessory and ignition power, and that's where it gets kind of weird. What they really mean is you need to be able to turn the car on, turn it off with it staying on, and then turn it back on again. And how that's accomplished is by having the doors closed and the wrap or retained accessory power. That's when like you turn the key off and the radio stays on until you open the doors. You need that functionality. To do that, turn the ignition on, wait till this boots all the way up, meaning there's nothing left and you have your radio display screen there. Hold the volume button until the radio says audio off. Once it says audio off, turn the ignition off so that it goes to wrap, meaning your gauge clusters go dim, the radio dims down. Turn it back on. This will of course brighten back up. So turn the emergency brake on, off, on, off, on. And you'll notice all of a sudden it says AM 970. That's them. Because if you go over into the dash, it says your audio is off. Press on your steering wheel control the volume up button and hold it. It'll come with volume 1, let's say 10, 20, 30. Now listen for the CD player. The screen stays on the whole time. When it reboots, this does not shut off. And that's it. Now it's reprogrammed. Now we can test the output and see what it looks like. I know, right? The thing is they don't want this to accidentally happen. They want to make sure that when you're doing it, it's intentional. Like, who's gonna like on, off, on, radio off, emergency brake 5 times? That's like the perfect storm. But let's look at the RTA. Playing our pink noise track just like before. Look at how sexy that is. Let's do a split screen and compare a little before and after shot. As you can see, this is why you want to do this. How sexy is that? The cool thing about like a DSR is it is a full-on DSP. However, you might be building a bigger system, let's say 8 channels. You might want a DSP processor that has more functionality to it. You can combine the DSR1 with anyone's DSP. If you want to use just the DSR1 as a preamp, you can do that. If you want to use it as a preamp with a global EQ, you can do that as well because it has a global EQ feature built into it. But you can do a lot with the DSR1 along with with just using it as a standalone DSP. Don't feel like, oh man, I wanted to use bigger processor that had 10 channels or 12 channels. You can do that. It's okay. Just use the DSR1 as your preamp. One other thing on the DSR1 that we have to address is that switch on the side for high level or low level. What position should it be in? And in this case, we're gonna set it to low level according to them. This radio is putting out a 4-volt output now. We're good. It's a nice low level, clean, flat signal output. This is awesome. Now we've taken this non-premium sound system and essentially turned it into better than premium sound because we didn't have to pay for that Sony system in the beginning. How awesome is that? Now talking all about all this is really cool and fun, and we've shown that, but there's a stereo going in this, and at the end we need to make sure it sounds good. We now have the cleanest signal that we can possibly get going into that amplifier. We're gonna fast forward this video up to the end, and we're gonna see how this thing actually sounds. Done. Let's take a look at the amplifier. It's up underneath this front seat here. We made a mount that screwed into the back of the seat. That allowed us to keep the floor mat fully functional. Plenty of room up underneath. There's plenty of room on top. Plenty of room to breathe. It bolts underneath the front seat there as well as into the back here. For a subwoofer, he has one P312 powered off of the 5th channel of the 1005. Everything went according to plan. Where we ended up mounting the DSR1, it will fit right here, mounted to the back behind the screen. You can make a nice plate, screw it right into place. Plenty of room. You can fit your hand up behind it, and this, everything worked the way it should. Let's hit go on the speakers. Now, of course, the one nice thing about starting off with a completely flat signal is you have no de-equalization you have to do. You have none of the worries that you would have if you didn't. So we can go right into the DSR1, program it and make it sound sexy and have lots of fun, which is what we did.
Yep.
The future of car audio is now, my friends, and it's pretty sexy. There's no doubt about it. Thank you, iData, for sending us a pre-release version of this and then walking us through how to set it up. Sometimes it's lightning in a bottle. Fernando.
On to the next one, guys.
You guys have a nice night as always. We'll see you later next time.
Bye.
Bye. Who actually sits and listens to a whole song? Anybody? I know, right? Alright, well, it's over. You can go. Go do something else. I don't know.
Go.
I don't know, go, leave. Be going with you, my friend. Alright. No, seriously. It's over. We're not gonna give you any more pearls of wisdom.
You shut the camera off.
No, you shut the camera off.
Oh wow, now we're getting
existential.
Yeah? Wow.
Okay. Alright, well, it's over. Bye.